Hi everybody, it's me, Mr. XStitch, Kingpin of Contemporary Embroidery. I am back with another video. This time it's a BossTube and I'm putting my house in order. Yeah, so a bit of a rambly video. It's a BossTube video. I thought I'd just try and talk about what's going on at the moment because there's a lot going on. I have this weird schedule sometimes where nothing happens and then it all happens at once. And this month, August 2018, is one of those months where it's all happening. By the end of the month, I will have produced the next issue of the magazine, and I will have also set up an exhibition at a National Trust property in East Sussex called Standon House. I've mentioned it a few times on video. There'll be a link to a video here where you can find out about it. Yeah, so there's a lot going on, and then there's still all these other bits and pieces. For instance, August 2018 is the 10th anniversary of me being Mr. XStitch, and I barely have enough time to actually do anything about it. It's kind of weird. I thought that I'd be able to put together loads of stuff and make a big fuss about it. When I first started out, I was looking back through some of the old blog posts on the website. The first year it made all kinds of hoo-ha. Had a little giveaway, it was all a good bit of fun. But as things have grown, and as I've got steadily busier, my ability to celebrate those moments, or rather my capacity to celebrate those moments, has dwindled. So, you know, this is the 10th anniversary. As of the 27th of August 2018, officially I'll have been Mr. XStitch for a decade, which is bonkers. But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've got things in mind. I'm, trying to make some videos. I'm trying to do some book reviews. Got plenty of books to give away. Yeah, so I'm hoping I can do that. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty mental to have been doing this for 10 years already. And, to finally be making something resembling a living out of it. But yeah, capacity. Anyway, I thought I'd talk about 3 different things that have kind of come together, and they can all be grouped under the idea of like putting my house in order, right? So I've got my wall chart planner behind me, which I bought on Etsy. It's really good. It's by Shot Tower Studio. I'll put a link in the show notes. It's year at a glance. I've got all the months there. It's quite uncluttered. I like it. I can put things on it in blocks and I can visually see what has to happen. As you can see, there's not a lot on it right now. I've only just started putting things on there, but it enables me to put my big commitments in nice and early, my scheduling date for the magazine, when I have various workshops and things planned out, and just give me a sense of what's going on. I can also put in things like birthdays and things that I usually forget to remember, but it's quite good. But at the moment, there's only one thing I've put in, which is this row of red squares above there. And what that is approximately the first Monday of every month, and that is when I will be reconciling my finances. As exciting as that sounds, it turns out that this is one of the most important things a business person should be doing, and I've been pretty, should we say, laid back about it. My website shows me how much money is coming in from magazine sales and those sorts of things, and because I have my own company now, I have to submit accounts. So I have proper accounting software called Cashflow. It's really good once you take the time to get it up to speed and you put in your supplies and your purchases. It's great because you can import feeds from your bank accounts and from PayPal and use all those things to kind of make sure you see what money's coming in and what's going out and where you stand. But rarely do I take the time to stop and have a proper look at things. Now, in a previous BossTube video, I talked about the EMyth and how it was important to spend time looking on your business, not just doing your business. And no sooner had I said that than I got swept away with doing business stuff once again. So it was quite important, I think, that I took time recently to sit down and do my finances. I went back and I reconciled my bank accounts from the start of the year through to now. And basically what that means is you get a statement from your bank account and you have things that you put into your software, money that you spent, money that you've received and all those sorts of things, and you marry everything up to make sure that what your software says is what your bank account says. So for instance, if at the end of a statement period your bank statement says you have a starting balance of £1,000 and an end balance of £750, You put those figures into your accounting software, and then line by line you add the money going in and the money coming out, and you can see what happens. And it's a really important process, and for me, you know, I produce a magazine once a quarter, and that has production costs. There's a cost of printing, there's a cost of licensing the designs from people, there's a cost of paying for people that write articles, there's a cost of paying model stitches, there's a cost of paying for all the art editing that goes on. But you know, it's important for me to understand how much that magazine costs to produce. I think the first issue cost me something like £11,000 to produce, and the most recent issue cost me something in the region of £7,000, which is quite an improvement, particularly as I'm still trying to get my subscriber numbers up to a point where actually that will be a break-even kind of situation, and I don't think I'm there yet. But that was what was important with the process of doing this financial reconciliation. I was able to look and see that the amount of money going in and out of my account has this real kind of curve to it, and the bottom of the curve is when the magazine comes out. And 2 issues ago, I definitely went, you know, into the red, I think it is. You know, I sort of went into a negative territory with that, but thankfully I have subscription income which brings it back up, so I was still able to pay for all the things. But then the more recent issue of the magazine, it dipped less. So the amount of loss that I was making was actually like a lot smaller, which is hopeful. And I look at the way I've got my finances put in there, and I can see that month by month I'm managing to kind of be more efficient with things, maybe not spend as much money on things unnecessarily, and hopefully start to actually turn a profit on a regular basis. Now, making a profit sounds marvellous, but you know, I think one month I made £10 profit, which basically meant all the money coming in, I'd spent less £10. I pay myself £450 a month, which is half of the rent for this property, because that is literally the least that I can do. But other than that, I don't take any money from myself out of the business. So it's very much paying for things as they go on, you know. Doing all this reconciliation has made me focus a bit and made me go, right, I need to make sure that profit is sustained, even if it's a tiny bit, because if I keep making a loss month on month, there's no way. You know, over the past 12 months, I think I've made a £7,000 loss on my business. But fortunately, I've brought in sufficient money to keep afloat. Thankfully, as Mr. XStitch, I can go and do workshops and presentations and stuff like that, and that tops up the account as well. So I've managed to just about scrape by, but it's not sustainable business practice to do that. So I need to be more mindful, and I need to make sure that as my customer base grows, so I become more savvy with the way I spend my money, and with a bit of luck, things will sustain quite nicely. So that's been important, and what it's made me realise is that businesses can come and go, but unless you're aware of what your profit and your loss of a business is, then you don't have a clue. I could see that I had money coming in, I could see that there was an amount of cash flow, but I wasn't able to confidently say, right, by the end of that month I expect to have this much money in. And I don't even have that confidence to say that now, but at least I'm taking the steps to get there. So that little row of red boxes on the top of that table there is a commitment to say, the most important thing I can do for my business is make sure that as early as the start of the month as I can, I look back on what's happened the previous month and I make my checks and balances so that I can see how my business stands. And with a bit of luck, I feel like it will continue to grow and thrive, because I believe in the product that I've got, and I think that more and more people will tune into it. But at least now I have the confidence to say that the amount of loss I've been making is diminishing, and that's good. Weirdly, what also ties in with this then is the latest audiobook that I've been listening to. I've been listening to 2 books lately, and I'll put reference to those in the show notes. One book is called Small Giants, and basically it looks at very successful businesses that have remained small. There's always this thing in business where you are meant to grow and thrive, and then suddenly you do a public offering if you're big enough, and when you do that, suddenly all you have to do is share profits for people, and it's a horrible thing to do. And what's great about this book is it looks at a few instances of businesses who've chosen to stay small and stay grounded, and looks at the culture that they've been able to create and stuff like that. And that's been really inspiring, and that's been one of the things that's made me look a bit more at my profit and loss, because one of the businesses that was included there kind of suffered the consequences of that sort of inattention. But yeah, really inspiring, and it does make you think, you know, when you're starting your own business, you look at what your end goals are and what your exit strategies are. And, you know, I don't feel like I really want to ever sell my business or certainly go public in a way, because the minute you do that, you've got to make a profit. You know, we think Facebook's great, but Facebook has a legally bound requirement to make profit each year now. And if it makes less profit one year than it does the year before, then that's considered a failure. And, you know, at some point that's going to ruin Facebook. And what's sad is it's probably going to ruin Instagram and WhatsApp as well, because they're all owned by Facebook. We're way away from that now, but they're legally required to do that. And I don't really want to have to sacrifice my business in order to turn a profit each time, because no good comes from it, I believe. So that's been a great book. And then at the same time, I've been listening to Spark Joy by Marie Kondo, which in a roundabout kind of way also makes sense, but that's looking about the joy of tidying. It's a bit random, I give you, but there's something quite nice about looking at what you've got in your life and getting rid of the things that you don't need, or more specifically, focusing on the things you want to keep and making those a bit more joyful. Now, I've not got very far in this at all, and I don't know that I'll necessarily get the time, but I do have a very well organised t-shirt collection now. Bought myself one of those Sheldon Cooper folded t-shirt things that makes it easy, and she has this method of where you fold things and roll things up to make little rectangles, and then they stand on their side, and I'll be honest, it looks well good. I'm really happy. I have a nice array of t-shirts that I can see. But it's just got me thinking about things, and I've taken some time to slightly reorganise my office as well. So I used to have a sort of bookshelf thing here, which is what I would film against before, and now I've got this, and things are a bit more low level, and it feels like there's a bit more space and stuff like that, and I think that's really great. And you know, over time, hopefully we can look as a household at what we've got and make sure that we need the things that we have, rather than just having all this kind of stuff we don't need. Now, I'm a bit nervous when I say that, because I collect comics, and in my garage I've got something like 15 long boxes full of comics going back to the 90s and 80s and stuff, and so I don't really want to have to get rid of those, but at the same time, they've been in boxes in my garage, and every time I move house, they move from one space, be it a loft or a garage, into another, so Christ knows what I'm doing with them really. But yeah, I just think it's interesting, that idea of stripping things back and looking at what you need. And I mean, I've had to do that even from a business standpoint before. You know, I used to have a roller derby news website once upon a time, and I did that for 4 years, and it was kind of getting somewhere, but it never made a single penny of money, and to be honest, it didn't look like it ever would make a single penny of money. So long story short, I pulled the plug on it and I stopped doing it, and it was quite a hard thing to do, but you have to make these sacrifices sometimes, because if things drag you down, or if you don't have any feeling for them, then that's not good. That's not a way to live a life. So I think that, you know, even if it's just a bit of reorganisation of things, I've got lots of books here that I don't necessarily need, but what I'm hoping to do is be able to give them away. And certainly the 10th anniversary of Mr. XStitch gives me an opportunity to get rid of a lot of stitchy books and pass them on to people who will benefit from them. So, but it's definitely got me thinking, and I think it's a good book. You know, if you're living a life that is very cluttered and chaotic, there's one thing about tidying up, which is just like moving stuff and cleaning stuff and all those sorts of things, but there's also something about getting things out and looking at them and feeling them and deciding whether they bring you any joy, or whether you've got them for a reason that you can't quite put your finger on. Because I think if we're all honest, we've all got a lot of that. So, and then if you get rid of them, you have an opportunity to A, get more stuff that you like the look of, and B, just make everything a bit more orderly and put things in places that make sense and make you happy and make the objects happy. And well, that sounds pretty groovy to me, so we'll see how that goes. And then finally, weirdly, in a sort of technological way that maybe fits in with what I'm saying here, I've been trying to use a software tool called Notion as a way of organising everything that goes on electronically. So, let me paraphrase. When you've got a business, you have to keep on top of a lot of different things, and you have files, and you have deadlines, and you have, you know, calendars and tasks and to-do lists and emails and all this kind of electronic-y stuff that floats around, and unless you've got a personal assistant who does it all for you, it's quite hard to find that one tool where everything fits in together. And I've spent a long time using things like Evernote for note-taking and for holding on to information and clipping information and storing it in one place, and Evernote's absolutely brilliant for that. And then I've been using Google Calendar as a way of kind of like managing a calendar and a schedule and being able to remind myself on my phone when things happen. And then I've been using things like Todoist or Trello and trying out Asana and different task lists, ways of like putting down your list of tasks that you have to do in a way that makes sense. I've tried bullet journals, I've got an extensive collection of half-finished moleskin notebooks that I still use. All these different tools and bits and pieces and ways of putting things together, and yet there still doesn't really seem to be that one tool that suits them all. Now Notion's quite new on the scene, and although it's not a complete solution yet, it's got this real flexibility that I like. You can set up pages. Basically, it's kind of like an app where you have what they call blocks, and a block can be an element and it can be a piece of writing, but you can turn it into a page, a to-do list, a drop-down list. There's all these different bits and pieces that you can do with it, and you can set up pages and you can dump information in there, and then you can make them into lists, and they've got calendars that you can kind of tie in. I think they're looking at synchronizing with Google Calendar quite soon. And it's just that thing of like, Evernote's where you hold all your information, but in Evernote you can't like turn it into tasks, whereas in Notion you can take that information and you can plug them into a little task list, and then you can align that to your calendar in a way that you couldn't necessarily do with something like Todoist. And then you can like just add information really easily, and then you can assign the task to other people, and you can like link to your Dropbox, so you can put all these files and all this kind of, it's quite hard to explain, right, because I've only been using it for like 6 weeks and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. And there's always this risk with this kind of tech stuff that you spend more time like getting into it and making it look pretty than you do actually benefiting from it. I don't know if you've ever looked up bullet journal videos on YouTube, but a bullet journal in effect is a really effective way of using a notebook to keep on top of things. But if you look on the bullet journal videos, it's more about how pretty you can make your bullet journal rather than how effective it has been in you managing your task list. And I struggle with managing my task list. You know, in my head I have a list of the most priority things, but then on my calendar I have one list, on that calendar I have another list, and my email inbox I have a different list, and I've yet to find that perfect solution that fits it all together that I can also then delegate and involve my colleagues with. But I feel like Notion's something that could really help with that. It costs about £9 a month, I think it is, for an unlimited solution, but it's got such flexibility and you can just build lists. So for me now, I have an XStitch magazine list where mostly it's a repository of information about designers and those sorts of things, but also there's a to-do list for each issue of the magazine, so I can kind of go through and make sure that I've done all the component pieces that need doing. I have one for Mr. XStitch where I've got all the things that I've found online over time, and they're all listed in there so that they can be used for future content. And there's editorial schedule that we have, and there's things like the codes that make the banners on the blog posts, and you know, all that information is dumped in there. And then even with the stand-in project that I'm doing and the art installation, you know, I've got a list there that I've been able to put together that has the names of the artists that are curating and links to their biographies and their artworks and stuff. And it's just really flexible, and it's a really easy solution to do. So if you're the sort of person who manages one of those kind of nebulous businesses, you know, where you just have to have all these different things, it might be worth having a little look at Notion. There's a channel called Keep Productive that's done by a guy called Francesco. He's really good. I do really like him. I've warmed him a lot, and he has done a lot of work looking at Notion and exploring it and kind of promoting it and showing how it can be put to good use and stuff. So find his channel. I'll put a link in the notes as well. And have a look, and maybe it's something that will work for you. I think it's going to work for me, and you know, although it's still quite new, they're clearly building the other elements. The minute they get that synchronization with Google Calendar, we're virtually done, you know. Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out what you do, what tools you use, if you've got one of these equally kind of nebulous sort of businesses, you know, bit of this, bit of that. If you're running an online business, if you've got any tips or tricks about, I don't know, business practices, if you've got anything to share, if you want to ask me any other questions. I mean, I've been doing this for quite a while, and I'm not saying I have virtually any of the answers whatsoever, but you know, I've tried a lot of tools. Some of them work for me, some of them don't work for me, and I'm happy to like talk some more about it really. So thanks for sticking with me for this rather rambly BossTube video. However, it's interesting that, you know, putting your house in order is a good thing to do. It's a good thing to find the time to do, and I think we all feel a bit better for it if we know that we've got the things that we need, the knowledge that we need, you know. I feel better because I know how my business finances look. And although it ain't great, I know that I'm going in the right direction, and with that I have surety. Indeed, that might even spark joy, who's to say. So thanks for taking the time to watch the video, and like, subscribe, usual, leave your comments, any book recommendations, because I've nearly finished this one. That would be good. Be sure to check out all the show notes, and I'll see you next time for another video. Thanks everybody, take care. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did like the video, please feel free to like the video, and hopefully you'll subscribe to the channel as well. I'm Mr. XStitch, I'm the kingpin of contemporary embroidery, and I'm here to change the way you think about needlework. So if you're into that sort of thing, subscribe to the channel and join us for the ride. Thanks very much.